Okay, it's 8:15 and I'd like to, is recording on, by the way? Are we recording?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. It's 8:15. I'll call the Whatcom Public Utility District regular meeting to order. Thank you. So first, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is approval of our agenda.
I'll move to approve. Commissioner, I would suggest moving 7D to after commission reports. So that we end up, that'll be kind of the last major item of business will be the strategic plan then, before final public comment.
Okay, sure.
That's a good suggestion. With that change, doing strategic plan last, everything else in good order?
Yep.
Okay, I'll move to approve.
I will second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then let's move on to the consent agenda. We're reviewing and approving the minutes of the regular meeting of September 9th and our special meeting on the 19th, last Friday. And as well as the claims for today.
I move to approve that as well, the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Let's have our first public comment.
Anybody?
Anybody on? Anybody online?
Got a few guests, but
Yep.
doesn't look like any hands up.
So we'll have a second public comment period at the very end, just before we adjourn. Actually, before executive session. And then we'll adjourn after that. So you'll have a second chance at the end of the meeting. Okay, I'll close the public comment period. Let's go to general manager's report.
Thank you, commissioners. On October 3rd, we were gonna have a meeting where a bunch of elected officials were coming up, Sharon Shoemake, Representative Rammel, a number of other folks. That meeting has been canceled by the representatives. So they apparently have a whole bunch of conflicts and just couldn't make the date work. And so the thing has been called off.
And potentially rescheduled for the spring.
Rescheduled for, I think, May or June.
I mean, after session.
After session and after things begin to dry out a little bit. So I think it was ideal in terms of going out and doing a physical visit right now. Just because everything's dried out, you can see all the work, would have been good from that perspective. Apparently, they're just too busy with other stuff right now.
Which physical projects were they gonna look at?
They were gonna look at a couple of the stream restoration projects on the South Fork. And I don't know specifically which ones, but by next year, there may be other ones. So it'll be and we'll just see what happens. But like I said, I think they're rescheduling for May or June next year. And so there's that. My apologies. I know the invitations went out, but we got pulled. Second thing is the county's consolidated water claim. We wrote a letter. I kind of outlined it and then John made it correct. Kind of objecting to the way they characterized our water claim, which was that they didn't characterize it at all. Didn't include it as available for development. And anyway, the final report came out, the final draft, and it's unchanged. They did include our letter as one of the appendices back about 250 pages into the report. And that was pretty much it. So I'm seeking your advice on this. We can write another letter to be entered when the county council hears the plan and or not. Or I can go in person to object and point out to them that if the consolidated water plan is not right, especially if it's lacking a big, like 30% of the municipal resource, then it understates the amount of water available for development, which then feeds through the Hearst decision directly into the comp plan. So, Now, that's why we wrote the letter in the first place, was to point out, number one, that it was wrong, number two, that linkage exists. So just at you guys' pleasure, do you want me to go and talk,
In
or do you want
person.
another letter?
I think you should go in person,
All right, and if I can't for scheduling.
Talk where?
reason, at the county council.
at the meeting.
Yeah,
What's
I'd like,
presented.
yeah. Let's talk a little more if that's okay about it, so the letter, I remember it coming up maybe 6 months, ago, was it?
Yeah, and that neighborhood 6, 9 months ago.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, the actual letter, I think, is dated May or June of this
Yeah.
year.
But we worked on it for,
Yeah, we were working on it for a while.
so back then, and I may not have the right impression, it was that it seemed like a trivial oversight kind of thing.
we would thought, one would think.
That is how it appears in the report. That's not how it feels to me.
Well, after we write a letter. And for it not to impact in the report, so. Tell me what the responsibility or the scope and the implications of the county's consolidated, because every county has to do one, right? So Whatcom County doesn't have much in the way of water rights. So because Whatcom County doesn't have much in the way of water rights, when they're talking about or water in terms of water distribution, what they're talking about is everybody else's.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's almost like you go to all the local governments and you say, tell us your thing and we'll fold it into one report. Right? Is that
Kind
not
of.
what they did?
Well, what they do is they start with that listing right behind you on the wall there of all the coordinated water system plan participants, of which we are one. And that's the basis for it. And so as part of that, you put in your perfected claim as you see it, and your inchoate if you want to, which Bellingham did, for instance. And then what that does is it says, all right, here's the total amount of water available for development. And then that feeds into the comp plan. The comp plan, by law, has to tie development to available water. If you understate your available water by 30%, then the amount of development you can have is significantly understated. The other thing is that the understatement ends up being concentrated because of the nature of our system in the Cherry Point area. So, there's an area where if we are excluded in being counted, somebody could point to the comp plan and say, well, you can't develop Cherry Point because there's no water there.
What is their reason for excluding us?
We have not historically been part of the consolidated water plan. Last one was published in 2019. I went back and looked at it. We weren't in that one either. And I think that the issue is that they were only going after Class A systems originally. And we were not a Class A system until 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, I think it's really, Class A is a potable water service that provides primarily residential, some commercial. Grandview should be characterized as a Class A system. But serves Cherry Point as the designated municipal purveyor. It's not a Class A system per se, but I think to focus in on Chris's point is that when you do your land use planning and your comp planning under GMA, that's required to be consistent with the utility provider's plan. And if they don't have a plan in existence for service, then arguably those areas should not be designated with that uses that require the utility services, whether it's sewer, water, fire, police, sheriff. And so without having a designated purveyor for Cherry Point, you open the argument that you should not zone it for any kind of urban designation. Any kind, be it industrial, light industrial, manufacturing.
Just to
clean
be
energy.
clear, is in the coordinated water system plan, it's not just drinking water, right? It is drinking agricultural and industrial water, or is it just drinking water?
It would be urban levels of service under the comp plan. And urban levels of service can be treated, not necessarily agricultural, but industrial and potable water service.
Okay. It
That's
includes
the argument.
industrial.
So if you go and object, which you should,
And which department? No, so by the way.
what do you mean?
Well, okay, sorry,
Look, he's gonna speak during the council meeting.
yeah, okay.
And they don't take that objection into account. Where do we go from here? We just let them publish an inaccurate plan?
Well, I think, you know, it'll be part of the record at that point. And, we can point back to it, you know, that here are you know, the major opportunities for us to set the record straight. We took advantage of those opportunities. Whether or not the county chooses to do anything with that is their choice, not ours. Admittedly, I'm pushing on a string here.
Industrial economic development, is a big focus right now with the, ports effort. What is it called? The report that's in development that Tyler's working on.
The SEDS report.
SADS, thank you.
Mhm.
Community economic development.
I know, I need to get a shower out here for when I do an acronym, but anyway.
Yeah, no, well, we're a team. We cover for each other. SADS,
My communications director was about to throw something at me.
No.
SADS, so that report, I assume that the port is an ally on this subject.
I think they're neutral. I mean, they're pretty much, this is our issue, not theirs. The other thing is that if you look at the industrial land that's zoned industrial in the county, you've got some in, the city of Bellingham's UGA. You've got a little bit in Ferndale's UGA if you discount Cherry Point. And, if you count Cherry Point as either county or Ferndale UGA, then, you know, there's that. But then there's Linden. And, you know, Linden is the only place that's willing to develop industrially, and I think they're at the limit of their water. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but I think they've come close to developing most of their inchoate, right. That's why they've had the managed aquifer recharge for Darigold and everything else. They're right at the edge.
Well, I've been attending the Whatcom County Business and Commerce Committee meeting. Intermittently, I attended the last one, and Tyler Schroeder was talking about the industrial land study.
Mhm.
And he asked me for feedback on it, and you know, my feedback to him was, well, we need to do an overlay of the industrial land study relating to water. So I didn't know, but I was speaking specifically about this,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
subject,
you
you know.
nailed it, yeah.
So,
That is the linkage.
so we can't do economic development without water for economic development, so. I think we can get support from a lot of people on the site, and I'm just guessing somehow it's just falling between the cracks of whoever the staff person's responsible for this perhaps doesn't have background necessary to be able to. I don't wanna get into that here, I'm just
Yeah.
you would know much more about the details of.
What I think has happened is they're using the same consultant they used last time, and all they did was they updated what they did last time.
Okay.
And we weren't in last time, they left us out this time. I think it's as simple as that. I don't
It's
think
that
there's
simple.
anything nefarious here. It's just, we're trying to correct the record and get it where we think it's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like you to be there, too, to make this point that we're talking about we haven't heard from you, Eddie, on this subject,
Just digesting.
okay. Well, really what this comes down to, do we want to support a nexus between industrial development and water, and that we need, the point, really what we're saying is, hey, county council. Our strategic plan talks about economic development, industrial development, but obviously. We need water for that,
Mhm.
and are you aware of the connection between industry and water? And if you are, then you should include us in your coordinated water system plan, because we're most likely to be the water purveyor for any major industrial development, because we have it. And a lot
And we
a
have
lot of people don't.
infrastructure adjacent to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would apply, of course, to Cherry Point, but it even applies Greater Ferndale area too,
Right.
yeah.
One comment that was in the consolidated plan that's kind of germane is recognition that while there's enough water rights to, you know, have development in Whatcom County, getting the water from where the right is to where the use is a different issue.
Mhm.
And they acknowledge that in the report. And that would be our problem. If we wanted to serve something that's in the Linden UGA or something like that, we'd end up having to build a significant pipeline, which we don't have. And that would be, you know, you'd have to factor in the cost of building that capital investment, and the pumping that would be required, and then the O&M and everything else. And it's an issue. You know, that's the issue with taking water out of the main stem and running it up into the North Fork, South Fork, Middle Fork areas. You end up fighting gravity the whole way. But anyways,
I mean, it does seem like a glaring oversight to not include us, but is the idea that if, you know, presuming that our water rights continue to be used for industrial uses and future industrial development, that they're just sort of putting it, yeah, I mean, is it that just in a different lane and other kinds of, you know, other needs would need to be met from. Like, I mean, is it, like, we have the opportunity to expand our Class A potable service, but. Is it in the scope of what they intended with the?
Well, see, if it's not here, one of the, ultimately on a moment by moment basis. A project proponent can apply for land development permits. Ask for water service, and the water purveyors that are able to serve that development. Will serve. What this is doing is talking about long-term, the comp plan, these coordinate system water plans are long-term documents. That are intended to create in our community an environment for future economic development plans. This won't impact tomorrow or today. But what we're saying is, are we planning for a future where we have new economic development, new industrial development? And for me, the answer is yes, we need that. You know, otherwise we're just subsidizing the status quo. As I've often said, you know, so if we don't support new development, hopefully it's cleaner, greener, and all of that, then we're subsidizing just the status quo, which is not progress. So that's what the comp plan is supposed to, you know, compass towards that kind of a future, as well as.
We have a lot to
So-
discuss. Do we want him to go to the site? Do we want him
Yeah.
to speak in person and not?
So have you made a request yet?
nope,
No, okay, so we would be, you
I was seeking your guidance.
Yeah,
when's this is on the agenda for,
I don't even know.
okay,
I
but
gotta find out
sometime-
which
at some
meeting
point when it is.
Yeah.
and I'd like to have a little bit of advance notice so I can work the room in your favor.
Well, when we're done here, I'll go ahead and research and find out when it is.
Mhm.
It unfortunately may be a time when I'm out of town. I think we're okay, but.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we can get it on the agenda for.
We'll hold a public
Yeah.
hearing at the council and set it, so I'm not sure when that is, maybe Todd does.
On the county council, Todd Legacy is a private citizen. I
Okay,
just
yeah,
looked
go
this
ahead,
up.
please speak up, yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
thought it was important because on the county council or on the county's website, it says that September 23rd is the public hearing at 6 p.m. for the
got plans tonight, Chris?
public meeting
I do not.
related to the coordinated water system plan.
So that would be tonight then.
See you there.
Probably don't wanna double check, it could be on their agenda, for their committee agenda for today as well. Might be a last minute request, but, yeah, they're meeting throughout the day.
Yeah, I think what we should do is maybe then tonight just say, hey, we'd like to discuss this further, rather than have a formal presentation. Says, you know,
Oh,
it's
I-
concerns us, we've written a letter, we're concerned, and we'd like to discuss this further, something like that.
Well, I think that if I'm gonna show up, it's gonna be to object.
Yeah.
To the actual content of the report and characterize the report as factually inaccurate
Mhm.
and materially inaccurate. To a very large extent.
Yes,
Jen, well, maybe a little.
we
bit
can talk
softer.
this into the ground, but yes.
So can you go to the public hearing tonight?
I probably can, yeah.
Okay, is it, since you have the agenda up, is there
And that was on the consolidated or coordinated water system plan website. I'm gonna pull up the county.
there wasn't like another public hearing or something like right before, like this would be
I'll look at the agenda.
shouldn't be sometimes those things can be larger, like large time commitments, or it could be like, this could be something that there's only gonna be a handful of people speaking at. You're taking your 3 minutes would be real impactful, it could be heard, so. And it's, yeah, that's,
Well, they're certainly not gonna have anything before this afternoon, because typically they don't meet in the morning, is that correct?
they do sometimes.
Right, not super frequently, though.
Yeah. Late morning.
Depends on the day, but yeah, I think sometimes they start at 9. But
You know what, at some point I'll just step out and I'll go through their agenda quickly and then I'll come back.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything on the planning committee or the committee of the whole right now.
Committee of the Holes tonight.
Committee of the whole is at 1 PM, and I'm not seeing anything on that agenda for today. They have comp plan updates, economic development plan, but that's it, unless they added on other business, but that's not on today's agenda for the committee of the whole. For the council tonight at 6 PM, they have looking.
Is there anything else in your general manager's report while we're waiting for?
4 other topics.
Okay. well,
Yeah, if you
I
guys
don't
got
see it on, oh, yes, they have,
answer
well, it's from the
questions.
Public Works and Health Committee. There's a report out from the Public Works Health Committee, and the Public Works Health Committee meets at right now, 9:55.
Okay,
Well, if you can make the 6 PM public hearing.
Well, I mean, John just verified, there's nothing on there.
Well, it's a report out of the committee.
Okay.
But you could go to the open session and speak to that.
Okay,
Yeah, open session also is it's
Yeah,
not, they don't
that's
typically allow like drop-in comment at a committee meeting, but,
No, they wouldn't.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like this now's the time to raise that.
okay. Real quick, I'm at the Waputa Water Conference for the rest of the week, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. We are hosts or sponsors of the Salmon Summit. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we gave seed money so they could get this thing set up. And it's November 13th. I think it's an all day.
At least you got.
And we have 4 tickets for it. And the intent was, the 3 commissioners and me or someone else. And Rebecca will be there as one of the organizers of the event. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that and see if you were interested. So it's got a day program, the technical side, and then the evening program. And it's just, we need to get you registered. I guess that's the key thing. If you
Yeah,
wanna go.
I'm in.
Okay. Do you want both the day and the evening?
What day of the week is that?
The Thursday,
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's Dave.
Let's check back with him and then,
I'd also like to register. I have to double check my schedule if I can make. I don't know if I can make the whole day, but
Well, why don't the 3 of you just singly let me know?
yes, good idea.
And then I'll go ahead and register you with Becky and make sure that everything's.
Yeah, I can do
set
it.
there.
and it's only $30, right? So,
We've already got it covered.
yeah,
So it's,
Yes.
we get 4 free tickets as sponsors.
oh, of course, right, sponsors.
I'm in.
Right,
Jamie, you think you're gonna be, I would just, all 3 of you, send me an email confirming either one or both or none, and then I'll register. River conditions. The rain actually took the river up over 2,000 cubic feet a second for an hour or so. So it was a significant rain event. We got as low as 700 cubic feet a second in the main stem, twice, overnight, both times. And we're back under 1,000 cubic feet a second right now. So, the river flows are quite low. If you've
Quite
looked
low.
at the mountains, there's not a lot of snow left. So until, we start getting rain, what we can expect to happen the remainder of this month is the freezing will start happening high up, which will stop the flow off of whatever remaining snow there is. And So until we start getting rain that actually run off into the river, we can expect to see flows gradually declining. So, just a heads up.
This is the pinch. Now, what about temperatures though?
Temperatures are fine. They were in the mid to low fifties in the main stem.
That's good news at least.
Yeah, it's nice cold water. That's not the problem. It's just the amount.
Have there been any reported, salmon fish kills?
Not that I've seen.
So we got lucky this year. That's good.
Yeah, and usually what'll happen is you'll have a low flow event coupled with high temperature, and that's when you get the
Yeah.
fish kills. We haven't had that.
Yeah.
We're just now experiencing very low flow. And
Again, if any of us know any salmon, tell them to get up that river quickly.
Yeah,
and then the last thing I have is we had a little bit of an update yesterday with AltaGas, ALA Resources. And they're the ones who are buying the Talco property for development, and they were the ones who were the lead on the hydrogen hub in our area. So one thing I did ask was, what's the status of the hydrogen hub? And kind of back to the Monty Python observation, it's not dead yet. So they're still waiting to see how things develop, and they're still active. They're still submitting reports. They're still, doing all the things they need to do to make the thing go forward, but they're just not sure what's going to happen. So
there's.
what's that?
Did Dave have his hand raised?
Public Works and Health Committee meeting,
Oh, it's we already reported.
Okay,
it's on their agenda.
yeah, that means it will come out tonight probably.
Yeah.
That's the committee report.
Yep.
So I will be there, and that's it for my report. Questions?
I sent you the agenda for the committee, the council, and the staff memo and the resolution that were all in the county packet.
All right, thank you.
Anything else on the general manager's report?
I'm good.
Okay.
Any questions or anything for me? Eddie looks like he's got a question.
Yeah, I guess in your conversation with ALA, so I mean, yeah, from what I heard from them too, was that without the, it wouldn't be like, they're not on track to be able to break ground next year.
No,
Which they would need to in order to be able to, access the federal funding. And for their
well, remember,
development.
it's a hydrogen hub, so it's not just them. There's a bunch of related industries
Right.
that,
There's
yeah, and any of them that pull out, the thing would collapse, and that hasn't happened yet. So that's
Yeah.
good news. It hasn't gotten to the point where it's collapsed.
Maybe because nobody wants to be the guy.
Yeah, but again, they'll cross these things and not have a milestone accomplished, and it's over. And that may be how it's announced, maybe very, very quietly that way, like a pocket veto almost.
Or it could just be on an extended hiatus or,
So,
Okay.
They're
just
not-
wanted to pass that on, guys.
Should we move on to the operations report? Kurt?
Hey, good morning, commissioners. A couple quick items. I'm sure you've noticed lots of trucking here at Plant 2. We're doing one of our pond waste basin cleanouts currently. As you know, we do a pond annually, removing all the sediment that's come out of our settling basins. So that's what's happening right now. Going on. It's going well. I think that they're about halfway through so far. The other item is D Station project is moving along well. They're starting the construction of the what's known as the doghouse, which just is the structure that's going to sit above the new vault. So things are moving well out there. They're grading out the site back to kind of a standard grade for driving in trucks and stuff like that. And so both of these projects are moving along well. And that's all I've got for now.
Questions? No, thank you, Kurt.
All right, thank you.
Okay, should we move on to old business?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. Broadband update.
Andrew?
Mr. Anderson.
Sure, good morning, I'll be brief here, but as you know, we're waiting for our WISBO, Washington State Broadband Office is waiting for NTIA to confirm their final proposal. So that will probably happen the first part of December. But what's happening now is NTIA, the funding agents for this funding we've been talking about for BEAD and now benefit of the bargain round. They've asked all the applicants to go back to the drawing board and reduce their ask for BSL per location, broadband serviceable location, to come under $6,000 per pass. So applicants have the opportunity right now to either resubmit their application to WISBO and come below that 6,000 for home pass, or just simply say we've already sharpened our pencils the best we can and our application stands as is. So the port is working with their partners that they've applied with, 2 of their partners to see if they can get under that 6,000, but we've pretty much sharpened our pencils as best we can, so I think where this will land will be pushed back to WISBO with the original application as is, but I know they're trying to find additional dollars, they being the private partners.
If I recall, we were already under a $7,500 pass.
Yeah, with at least one applicant.
Well, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is,
They're not looking at the average now. They're looking at all the outliers that are over 6,000. So you can have a package where it's 3,000, but you've got 15 BSLs in there that are 6,000 or more, and they've asked you to trim those down.
and so we also obviously work closely with a particular ISP on this, and they had their own application. Do you happen to know any feeling of what the folks we're working with are thinking about this request? Similarly, that they've sharpened their pencils to the best of their ability, or what's your feeling?
Well, the only ones that I am aware of are the 3 projects that the port has applied with the private ISP, which is like the Ferndale, Blaine, Northland, and areas. But for the other project areas, it looks as though those have come below the 6,000 for home pass already, so they've already met that threshold.
Oh, okay.
But WISBO could be reaching out to them directly, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the argument I would make is that obviously with the 25% match. You know, I mean, we're already getting a significant benefit over. Non-public sector participation. Anyway. So we don't know what the TVs, we can't read the TVs, we don't know how the federal government's gonna respond to that.
No, and this process was not outlined or identified in any way, to my understanding, in the process that was documented. But neither here nor there, I can tell you the matching funds, there's been comments made by the state broadband director that matching funds, there might not be enough matching funds available from state legislature, so they did hold back. They being WISBO asked for the full 1.2 billion, which is what the state of Washington has been allocated by NTIA, but they came in much lower than that in their final proposal, so they're reserving $377 million that will primarily be used for matching dollars. So that's the scoop. That's what I know is what you know now. That's the update.
I'll make comments on my commissioner reports at the end, but I don't want you to be affiliated with my harsh comments, Andrew. You gotta do your job.
John, any updates on education?
No, it's,
So anything on geothermal?
I met with a lobbyist, what is today, Tuesday? I guess last Friday, is that when I met with him?
Yes.
Anyway, it's a nationally known lobbyist, and they're gonna give us a proposal for helping with the geothermal.
At the state and at the federal level?
No, at the federal level.
At the federal.
Are they DC based?
Mhm.
Great.
And that's kind of it, it's just moving along.
Is that all, that's all budgeted for? Like, we don't need to approve that or anything?
Not yet.
No,
We have a
it'll be-
proposal.
Yeah, there'll be, oh, you mean on the
Would it be-
lobbyist itself?
Yeah, we'll put it in our next budget.
Well, no, what'll happen is, if it's within my delegation of authority, I'll go ahead and authorize it. And then you guys will see it as a variance in the budget.
Yeah,
If it's something that is way outside of what I can do, which it might be, then, we come back to you guys as a proposal, and again, being an unbudgeted item, if you do it this year, if we do it next year, we budget it for next year, but if we do it next year, it might be too late. So that's why we're looking at it now.
okay, so, we'll probably hear something at the next meeting.
As soon as I have a proposal.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that, since we're partnered with the tribe, the Nooksack tribe on this, it would be, worth exploring, you know, they've got substantial federal, delegation, federal resources
Mhm.
supporting them, so. It'd be great to,
Yeah,
get their
and-
thoughts as well on
In
that.
talking to Mike, they didn't have any, lobbyists that really focus on this, it's just not their issue.
Yeah.
In the past, so they built up a really good infrastructure to work in Washington DC, but it doesn't help here. So I told Mike Mike Malden, who's the, Nooksack staff guy, who's in charge of this, and who, by the way, has been great to work with. But,
Okay, so they know we're taking the lead on this too.
they've kind of heard, and, you know, they'll see more as if. I gotta see what the proposal says,
Yeah,
because it may be, you know, not helpful, it may be extremely helpful and extraordinarily expensive, and there's all kinds of dimensions.
yeah, where I'm going is the lobbyists themselves obviously have all kinds of, just like legal firms, relationships. And so it'd be good to, find a firm that will also be able to leverage the relationships that the Nooksack's other federal resources have. Like, so that it's a team, they play good team ball in DC on our behalf. There's a good opportunity there to exploit substantial relationships. I mean, tribes spend a lot more time in DC than we do.
Mhm.
So just thinking, off the top of my head, it would be a good thing to hire a firm that has, good relationships there too.
I agree.
And then we've, if we're okay with geothermal,
Yeah.
we've moved the strategic plan, so next would be new business.
Yeah, and we're surplusing a truck.
Yeah, Kurt, do you wanna talk about that, or?
Yes, hello, hello again, commissioners. Yeah, so we cycle through our vehicles. We don't keep anything for too long, and we've already received our replacement for one of our water crew trucks, and so now we're just looking to surplus our 2015 truck. And basically, this is the process. I have to come and let you know, and that this is happening, and request your approval.
And then it goes to an auction or something?
Correct,
like
that it goes to an auction, yes.
So is our policy to phase out trucks after 10 years? Or is it a
It's
more?
not, it's not 10 years specifically, but we usually get rid of the oldest truck. They just become obsolete, or they just wear and tear. But no, it's not a 10-year cycle.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I mean, to me, 52,000 miles seems like not that much, and I understand the need to have, to be on the side of safety and reliability and avoiding any issues with trucks, but is it the 50,000 mile mark that we go off of, or is it just like, did it have any issues or damage?
No, it doesn't have any damage, but it is an older truck, and so like you said, reliability becomes kind of the main concern. Make sure that during inclement weather or any incidents that we have a functioning fleet.
I gotta point out, these trucks, they probably spend a lot more time idling than moving. So you don't end up with a lot of mileage, but you end up with lots and lots of hours on the engine.
I see. Yeah.
Well, maybe what we should do is, revisit for the future procurement policy on trucks, just to, maybe we can do that in one-on-ones or some other way. Just if we've got questions on that subject.
Yeah, I was just since
It's something that I plan to
since it's come up.
ask more about,
But we've already replaced it, so,
Yeah,
right,
we
and
have.
this is cycled out of service.
but yeah, I mean, I agree with the 50,000 mile comment, but we'll take care of it offline.
So can we ask for approval of the disposal of the unit?
I move to approve resolution 1. Approve resolution number 880, declaring certain property to be no longer functional and of little or no value.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I hate the way it's worded.
Yeah, that's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Great, thanks, commissioners.
Okay, so should we, that concludes our new business, right? Yeah. So I'd like to make a suggestion, colleagues, regarding the commissioner reports, I have extensive notes from Wapuda. And what I'd like to suggest is that when we talk about, Wapuda, I go first and then you guys can backfill what I missed. Unless you also have,
You're welcome to go, but
so I'm suggesting I go first.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
let's try to be brief.
Oh,
yeah.
these are long notes.
We're not even at 9.
Cause I'm not,
We got a lot to do,
we have a lot to do,
and we do have an executive session we have to get.
and we,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
not all of it is necessary for public comment.
no, but this is a good good, Wapuda report, so I'm gonna get started. So I've got this broken up in 3 areas: broadband, energy, and then the board of directors. Nothing really
Nothing exciting.
explicit, in the water category as a group, it'll come up a little bit when we talk. Okay, so first, regarding BEAD, Stephanie Selapuza, who heads he doesn't head, but supports the telecom committee as a lead staff person on telecom that will put up, did an excellent job of covering the history of this something show, what's a better word? Of this, parade of characters and policy evolution that is BEAD. I was gonna use another term, but I use cleaner language. Early on, we had some really significant successes. Washington State increased its allocation from 0.9 to $1.2 billion, for example. We're the only state that got matching funds. Originally, we were looking for 25%, but we got something like 20% matching from the state. That being the case, we have had significant hiccups. We've had literally full-blown proposals that people all over the state, both public and private, prepared, that were essentially thrown in the dustbin by the federal government after they defined the rules for those proposals. So of course, that's been a little bit of frustrating for the broadband community. Having said that, even despite all of those challenges, in the provisional award requirements for this final round of BEAD funding, 75% of the funding was going to fiber and fixed wireless, and only 25% to LEO, low Earth orbit. In the telecom committee, I explicitly said that because of the approach, I'm not in all cases personally opposed to satellite-based broadband. There are definitely cases where it is the best solution, no question. But the way the federal government is implementing LEO, it's almost wasting the entirety of the money. In my opinion, that because it's going to largely be used by people who really don't need that hardware, would buy it anyway. And really doesn't do anything to increase the actual access, in my opinion. It's just a subsidy to people that were gonna get LEO anyway. Back to the 75% of fiber and fixed wireless, of course, we weren't explicitly included in Stephanie's report because if you recall, our efforts are under the responsibility of the port. We are supporting the Port of Bellingham. She didn't explicitly list our projects and our successes. Of course, we've all had reported here before our successes. The state match, and Andrea touched on it a little bit, is a really important thing for the two of you to be aware of. The state match, despite multiple efforts by Wapuda, was limited. It's fine to limit for fiscal reasons, but we didn't even get a letter of intent from the legislature to be able to provide additional match in the event that we got additional federal funding for public entities. And what that did is it forced the decision makers at NTIA and the broadband office to actually not award projects to the public sector that could have gone to the public's, these public-private partnerships. And the damage that caused for us is to the tune of $378 million of non-deployment potentially, because there's $378 million of that 1.2 billion which are not being deployed because there wasn't sufficient state match to be able to access that. And also because the state match, those projects those projects that were proposed by the public were downscored, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. And reduced the amount of public projects in that way as well. So, got concern, still lots of good news, but the bottom line is that there is now $377.5 million that the federal government planned to allocate to Washington State that is currently unspoken for. There's certainly potential of a clawback. The federal government certainly can do a clawback. But there's now a window of opportunity for us to work together as a community to identify beneficial uses for that. And as you know, is in a strategic plan, I'm thinking perhaps mid-mile infrastructure or some other ideas might be a good place to look at exploring beneficial use of that money. Because why mid-mile? Because it benefits everybody. It increases the reliability, robustness of our grid, our telecommunications grid. It's like perhaps to some degree, if we say backhaul in particular, like the transmission system for, yeah, please.
So the federal funds are available for end user applications, not middle mile.
I know, but maybe.
So we need actually to have action of the US Congress.
To change the
allocation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that probably isn't a viable, solution. Thank you for pointing that out.
Just hard to imagine what we could do as.
Well, let's throw a middle mile out then, thanks for helping with that. Then, there's some beneficial use if we can come up with for the 377.5 million, we should, as a community, figure that out. Okay, moving on to energy. Any comments on the broadband front? Okay, moving on to energy. The UTC done a report on the investor-owned utilities. There's more details coming. I think there's gonna be some conversation happening at the next WPUDA meetings on this subject. There's a November 12th meeting in the morning in Olympia that WPUDA is sponsoring to talk about, I guess I didn't say the topic was transmission. There's also a transmission meeting that's being scheduled just before the beginning of our regular commission meetings in November. Oh, this is 13. That actually overlaps with WPUDA meetings.
That may be the case, yeah.
Yeah, it does. So now, maybe I'm off the list on that, depending on which way I go. So I guess we will get back to you on that, including me. But on November 12th, there's a morning meeting on transmission related policy initiatives supporting our regional grid. And Nicholas invited us to that.
Transmission was the topic of discussion during government affairs as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. October 9th, there is the forum that
It's the PPC fuel, isn't it? Yeah.
no, that's the one on the Crystal Ball is leading.
Okay.
Which organization?
PNUC.
With that PNUC is leading to educate our public policy leaders at the state level, how states can support regional transmission improvements. And I don't know if our delegation will show up there, but Sharon was invited. Alex was not invited, but after I emailed her, she said, and I forwarded you that email that Alex Rammel, Representative Alex Rammel has also been invited to that forum. I don't know if commissioners are going to that forum or not. I don't think so. I think they want it to just be between staff and
Yeah,
then,
my sense was not, but, you know, one thing that I haven't heard a lot of talk about.
but you might wanna try to go. I don't know.
Okay, I have to check my calendar, but
Yeah,
the, what I don't hear a lot of talk about is creation of a regional transmission organization. If you want to, really address transmission at the regional level, you gotta have an RTO. It's the only way that it works, and even then, it's really hard. Look what MISO is going through. I keep forwarding those notes to you from, Platts. So for whatever reason, we're not talking about an RTO out here, partially because most places have an RTO first and market grows out of it. We're growing a market, and the assumption is that an RTO will grow out of it. The bad news is you won't get the RTO until 5 to 10 years after the market's up and running. So you're looking at mid-2030s at the earliest, and that's just. We probably need to be talking about an RTO soon.
what can state policy do to support an RTO?
Well, the commission, UTC can direct the investor owns to join an RTO. And that is how it was done in Kentucky, and it was effective. The governed utilities, joined an RTO, and in fact, half of Kentucky went to PJM, the other half went to MISO. And, so it's, there's ways of doing that but we don't have an RTO to go to. That's the problem right now. The West never developed one. One of 2 areas that didn't have it, us in Florida. Oh, Florida.
So we need bumper stickers so that we can spread the word that say RTO gives us RA. And then everybody will know what we're talking about.
That's it.
I hate you guys so much.
Regional Transmission Authority
I know.
or organization gives us resource adequacy. I'm just big, was a nerdy joke. So moving on to bills. Of course, the bill last year and whether it's the same bill or a different bill was in gross Senate substitute bill 5466. That talked about creating a transmission authority. There's been lots of discussion. Our delegation has heard from us and will continue to hear from us. There's the WPUD is suggesting that instead of kind of a transmission authority run by the state, that perhaps the right solution is a transmission advocate that exists under FSEC, which is the state energy facility state site evaluation council.
I think so, a committee. I
Wow,
can't remember.
But you got it right.
I got it.
Council.
Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council.
Yeah. Woo.
They're not very council. Well, they are.
Creating an advocate in that organization to help transmission be promoted. Rather than creating a whole new body within the state that has the ability to build transmission.
And right
And-
now, in FSEC, the project proponent only has one say. All of the NIMBYs swarm in there, and essentially FSEC just becomes another veto body. So introducing some kind of an advocate in there that can, stand back and say, this particular project really does benefit the whole region, and here's how. And that from a third party that doesn't have an axe to grind, but within FSEC. So that's why Nicholas thinks, and I completely agree with him, that could help.
Moving on, there's also follow-up actions to the Bill 5446, which did pass last year, which is on grid reliability and the potential ways that better assessment of our historical problems and projections on future problems is being looked at. I forgot what that bill actually did in terms of create resources, support resources for the evaluation of grid reliability, but I
Wasn't
think
that the one that just directed the UTC to hold these resource adequacy meetings?
that's right.
Yeah, and so now they're holding the meetings. check the box. And
But I want the UT to say that I'm getting back to the bumper sticker. I would like the, UTC to say, resource adequacy, oh, okay, we have to do something about that. I know what we do, we need to support. RTO. That would be a great outcome of that process, and maybe we can shepherd we're talking to our state legislators, and maybe that's a message that at a future time, not today during this agenda item, but maybe we could come up with a policy letter ourselves to support that idea.
I would advocate that the West move immediately to approach SPP to expand into the West.
Hey, you guys, it's part of our strategic plan. We actually have a tactic to create basically a calendar for our legislative asks. So let's do it then.
Okay,
Yeah.
who's gonna make a note to make sure we do that? We come back to what Jamie's suggesting.
We'll get it.
We'll get it, okay, all right, good. All right, that's enough on energy, and then lastly, the board of directors meeting, this will be quicker. Jamie, thank you. I wish I could have been to Grant County, we would have learned a lot more about potatoes, irrigation. About the relationship, most interesting of the relationship between Grant PUD and the Wanapum tribe is very fascinating relationship. Like all relationships, there are good parts and bad parts, but certainly it's a much more local, regional relationship than what many tribes have with their communities, and there's some beautiful parts about that. Got a little bit of exposure to that. I hopefully learn more about that next time I get a chance to go to Grant County. The board of directors also talked about the transmission issue, the new one particular topic that came up was new transmission effort, that's one of the regional PUDs is developing, which terminates in Quincy. Do you know anything about this? And that condemnations that are gonna have to be undertaken to be able to implement that?
Yeah.
Is that Grant PUDs?
I don't know if it was Grant or Ben, but the issue was, here's an example of a small line, it's a 115 line, that's not very long, that has already been in permitting for a dozen years, and now they're having to go in condemnation, so you've got more years of court action. Again, this isn't a regional line, it's just a local line, and you're having that kind of a problem. Building transmission's hard. I think that's the bottom line there.
Again, another message about how difficult it is to build stuff. A fish hatchery was discussed between Chelan and Douglas. That was another example of regional collaboration, which included the support of the tribes of the tribe, Wanapum tribe. Eddie, you volunteered, right, to be on the budget review committee. Thanks for doing that.
They asked me to serve as an alternate.
Oh, okay.
It's a one-time thing in the October meeting, and I agreed, so.
With extraordinary enthusiasm.
Yeah.
One of the funnest things you'll do this year.
Yeah, no, I was honored to be asked, yes.
So, Jamie, this is pure personal interest. They had Valor, the courthouse dog, come out at Grant, in the board of directors meeting. There's a program that they have with, the local courts to have a dog companion for young people, in testimonies, so I already talked to you about that. It's really cool. Definitely something that you might have an interest in. They're at the building, there's been some vandalism, they've had to switch tenants, and the tenant has nothing to do with the vandalism. There's some building upgrades and repairs, and that will be covered in the budgets,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You can look for opportunities there. Oregon PUD Association is hiring an executive director. This is a big deal, and the reason is because Oregon PUD hasn't had the bandwidth. The Oregon PUD Association has not had so they have an association just like ours, it's smaller, there's only 6 PUDs in Oregon. But we haven't done a lot of cross-state collaboration. And they finally decided, okay, we should have our own executive director. Historically, different PUDs have taken turn running Oregon PUD Association, allocating resources. Now finally they're pooling resources so that one PUD doesn't have to carry the entire weight of the Oregon PUD Association every year. And this will be a good thing for us, because the more regional collaboration we have, the more regional efforts we can move ahead. It's good news. We don't have to deal with the Columbia River Treaty, but just FYI, if you care, it seems stalled, very stalled. Not a lot of forward motion on that front.
Hmm.
And lastly, Scott Wilson gave his Bonneville Power Administration report. And he said this was the third low water year. And we've rarely had 4 low water years in a row. But it's kind of looking that way for this winter, based on long-term weather forecasts. So something to be aware. Hopefully we don't, but there's potential of a 4th low water year for Bonneville, which will start having an impact on us. So that's my report from PUD. I would just like to make a personal comment, is that, I've read and attended discussion groups around Ezra Klein's book, Abundance. And, the importance of us figuring out how to make things happen. And it's a real daunting thing, and I would like everybody to be thinking about how do we figure out how to say yes to more things. And as far as new development, because when we don't say yes to new things, we are subsidizing the things that we don't like about our status quo. When you don't support something new, you support the status quo. And there's things about the status quo I don't like. So I've got to support something new. And so we've got to figure out how to do that as a community. So that's my comments.
You're here. Yeah, well, thank you for summarizing all the WAPUDA meetings. Glad you took notes, and basically covered much of what I would have just reported on. So I don't think I have much to add, and or at least it could take us down a road of maybe talking about some of what came up in the Government Affairs Committee or Energy Committee, but I don't know, maybe it's not the time. So yeah. Jamie, anything you wanted to?
Yeah, so, I'm our representative of government affairs, and mostly centered around transmission. You were at the meeting as well, right? Lots of conversation about transmission. The one thing I did want to add, though, is that the WAPUDA meetings happened shortly after the political assassination of Charlie Kirk, and there was some talk about how, like, Representative Dent attended, and he had some comments about bipartisanship, working together, mental health, taking care of ourselves. And I appreciated that conversation. And I like to think that here in Washington, we can be respectful and hold different viewpoints. Yeah, just wanted to note that I appreciated him coming and speaking, even though we don't share the same viewpoints.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're a little bit luckier in Washington State.
Yeah, I also appreciated those remarks.
All right, any about upcoming meetings? I've asked for guidance from Stephanie Salapuzza about the telecom workshop, whether what will be discussed, what do we expect to be discussed. Ordinarily I would just go, but the question is
I believe, Andrew, you are going, is it? Yes, so we are gonna have, someone who knows an awful lot there.
Will it be 100% in person or will it be an online component to it?
You know, I'll have to check on that. I don't know.
If you don't mind letting me know if you find out, yeah, because it might be good to go online instead of go all the way down to Mason County,
Yes.
yeah. Because there's no Waputa meetings in October, right? I mean, no Waputa regular,
Yeah, no.
Food
board
association
meetings,
meetings.
it's special meetings, yeah.
okay. You're fantastic finance.
The budget
forum.
committee, yeah.
Okay, well, anything else on commission boards? We should switch over to are we doing executive session or are we gonna go to? Strategic plan, okay, all right, let's do it.
Okay, commissioners, in your packet, you'll have, the update, and I apologize, I didn't catch the version change on the cover page there, but this is the version from the, meeting on the 19th. And just a first note, as discussed, I removed all reference to WPUD as we talked about, so throughout the document, you note those changes. The first change, just to bring your attention to, on page 5, under values, we updated integrity. So it now reads, fulfilling our duties with dependability, transparency, and accountability. And if we have no other discussion on that, we move to page 7, under history. You'll note, in the bullet that says treats and distributes more than 5 million gallons of water a year. We updated that as we found that, we're not sure where that information came from, but it wasn't quite accurate. And there was also some question in public comment about what does it mean to be the most active public water utility provider? And we ended up striking that, so it now just says, making it the largest water PUD in Washington state. Because we are not the largest in Washington County, and it didn't specifically call us out as a PUD, or a PUD, but just as a water provider, so. So we made that change there just for accuracy. And if there's no comments on that, we'll move to tactics on page 11. So 1.3A was updated to read research and identify potential water storage projects and new water opportunities. And 1.3B was added, investigate new wholesale power supply opportunities. And if there's no comments there, we removed 1.5, which was that whole section there. And I'm gonna get to that when we get to the sections that we,
When we get to 6.
when we get to 6, so those things were moved into portions of 6. So then on page 12, under tactics, 4.2C was added. Support Port of Bellingham and other partners in broadband equity access and development, BEAD, program funded infrastructure. And that was Commissioner Deshmani's suggestion, and that was added. And if there's no questions there, we'll move to section 6 on page 13, which is where most of the changes happened. So 6.1A was updated and combined with what used to be in section 1.5. So this is where, if you recall, with geothermal, we sort of called out sort of 2 different things. We wanted to specifically talk about the exploration and feasibility as well as just the project itself. So it now reads, continued development efforts of geothermal energy production on Mount Baker and provide policy and financial support for the initial phases of the exploration of the feasibility of that project. And then if we move on to, now we're in 6.1B was removed. And this is where I probably need some feedback from you folks. There was discussion about merging it with the mention of municipalization, which is in 6.3C. However, then there was some conversation, or Chris mentioned, if we had a CCA, he wouldn't recommend municipalization. And so I wasn't sure if we wanted to put those two topics together or not. So for now, it's been struck, and I'm not sure whether we want to move that somewhere else, and if so, how or where. So that's probably where we're.
Maybe 6.1B should just be a much simpler and investigate. Potential of CCA, of community choice aggregation. Meaning that 6.1B and 6.3C would not exactly be in conflict, but they'd be two parallel. Concurrent pathways.
I mean, can we just update C to be investigate and support municipalization and or CCA opportunities?
Sure, it could be that too.
Yeah, I like the idea of
I like that too.
combining them. Going back to this, we just keep checking, like, reminding which strategy those tactics fall under,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
still want that.
6.3 is
Uh,
expanding our role.
yeah, okay, so one is investigate new clean energy sources, and 3 is evaluate opportunities to expand roles, so. Yeah, I would say, like, what if, okay, so investigate and support opportunities for municipalization. Oh, actually, come to think of it, we should be a little more clear about. Well, if it's just under expand role, we should clarify, we mean. Electric utility municipalization, or like, what is municipalized, like, what is that actually, that's a bit of a,
Yeah,
that would be clear to the layman, what we
no, it
even
wouldn't be.
mean there.
No, it is clear to us because there's not.
Municipalization and what, like, is, that can mean a lot of things, so. Investigate and support.
Electric utility municipalization.
And
Um. um, Opportunities to expand electric service through municipalization. Or like potentially through municipalization, community choice aggregation. Yeah, how do you?
Okay, so how about investigate and support opportunities for electric utility municipalization and or community choice aggregation program? Does that cover what we're trying to say?
Yes.
well, you need to say and or. And it's probably
Well,
fine.
Just use or.
Or,
It's a
Or,
lot
cause it's not
logical.
and, that's the whole kind of the
Yeah.
point of my.
Well, no, you
Yeah.
use or, it's a logical or, which means
Or.
and.
one or the
And
other,
or.
yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
Well, here's the thing, but we kind of want to look at both of them.
Well, I think, and this is just my view, and I could be very wrong on this, but the CCAs, when they got promulgated throughout California, it stopped all municipalization. It just didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
Why would you municipalize? I mean, the purpose behind municipalization here on behalf of our community is to drive different source choices, right? If you got CCA, you can offer a source choice.
Right.
And why bother with municipalizing all the assets? And then taking on that O&M responsibility and everything else, let the incumbent IOU deal with that part of the business. We could satisfy the community need through sourcing. So that's what happened in California. And so I do view those things as mutually exclusive. If you want to pursue a CCA, then don't spend a lot of time on municipalization and vice versa. If you really want to municipalize, don't spend a lot of time on CCA.
Part of the thing is that both of them have different efficacies. And one of the things that would be good to understand, what are the efficacies of the two different efficacy to explain.
yeah,
I mean, how far can you actually penetrate into the legislative environment that we have to actually get a CCA in place? And this with municipalization is more of a how far could we possibly get in a negotiation with our investor-owned utility? So like knowing how much resistance there is on those two sides. It varies every day, and we certainly would vary every year. So it's like you kind of want to know both options to decide where you want to put all your energy.
And so, and this is just an assumption, and I have not talked to Puget about this, so if Brian's on the phone listening. Still is or not, but, historically, the incumbent investor-owned utilities have been massively resistant. And you don't get a good negotiated settlement, you just assume you're gonna end up in condemnation, and that's kind of what you plan for. And that's a extraordinarily adversarial viewpoint, but it's also reality. So it's kind of the problem with the CCAs that we found is it looks good on paper and all that, and you get it done and you get 70-80% penetration. I mean, they really do capture the market. But now down in California, how you write the laws is important. And they didn't have any ancillary services written into the CCA laws. So they're providing primary power and no ancillary services. So there's no spinning reserve, there's no voltage or frequency response control. Yeah, and so now that falls back on the incumbent IOUs to provide all of the services to CCA customers. Well, you've got to include that then in the meter charge. And of course, everybody goes ballistic when all of a sudden their meter charge goes from $30 a month to $90 a month. Well, that's because you're covering all these other things that traditionally come out of, a power plant, fossil power plant that's dispatchable. And now we've disaggregated all those little pieces and you got to pay for each one. And people are missing that. And it's actually what caused the big blackouts in Texas. Their CCAs ended up not being able to supply any of the ancillary services which were required. And so they defaulted them all back to the investor owns who didn't have any energy under contract. And so when the Storm Uri hit, they ended up having to pay, $20,000 a megawatt hour and that kind of stuff for those former CCA customers, and they passed that on to them. You had residential homeowner bills of $18,000 to $25,000 a month as a result of that. So, it really matters how you build the laws around the CCAs. It could be a very, very long conversation.
I think, maybe we capture this though by we're at the stage of saying that we're gonna investigate and support both of these opportunities, so you're still getting into, we're not at a point of deciding one or the other. We're
Besides, this is
checking into both.
Besides, this is an action that we could revise next year. I mean, we're,
Absolutely.
all the actions we're absolutely, can go through an annual review. We may bifurcate it different. We might create specific studies and, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then, the other additions here in 6.3 that came out of the old 1.5 is B, which is continues to support development of clean energy industries at Cherry Point. And D, seek out new broadband mid-mile opportunities. Is there any comment or discussion on those?
That,
Oh, last minute.
did that
That came from
substitute
what we
for,
struck in 1.5.
oh, I see.
That was that section that we added that didn't actually connect to anything where we decided
Yeah.
it needed to be under 6.
Okay,
So they're just moved from that section.
right, yeah. Um. Okay, so does this, Chris, do you think this list is, covers? Does that cover what should be on there under 6.3A?
I
Like, I
don't think
mean,
there's anything it doesn't cover.
It's a pretty wide.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be one of those things where because of our bandwidth, we're gonna have to pick and choose, and that that really was the special initiatives year one focus, the next section. Was what do you guys think is the most important? And then it may very well be that we come back to you and say, okay, in order to do this, here's the budget implications. And then you guys will have a pass at that at the budget.
Right.
So that's kind of the iterative feedback loop that we were looking for.
And with that being said, then if you look at the next section under special initiatives, you'll see that I just sort of made this a bullet list because I'm not sure the format that MFA intends to put this in, but these were the items that we then identified. And that was done fairly quickly.
And we didn't get to 6.
We did, we added 6.1A and 6.2A.
On the next page.
Oh, I forget, I didn't see the next.
Yeah,
page.
on the next page, so we kind of have something, we do have something from each section, but again, this was kind of a quick list of going through and identifying. I think there was a little bit of sort of low hanging fruit, like these are things we know we're gonna do, these are things we know we're gonna do annually. We're just gonna always be doing them.
How about 6.3C, adding the new 6.3C to the, near-term actions.
So. We've done a feasibility study on municipalization, and we talked about like. Circling back to that and we haven't, so is that kind of what you mean? Cause I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now with the context of CCA too, looking at both, maybe a.
Well,
Rush
I would
meeting.
suggest a different approach.
Okay, sure.
I don't know what Wapuda's reaction would be to a CCA. I mean, many of the incumbent, utilities that serve entire counties might be vehemently opposed to it.
Why don't we just
Yeah,
add
I
it
see
to
that.
an agenda of an upcoming energy committee meeting? Just to take a temperature, or would you rather do it at the general manager's level, Chris?
That's your pleasure.
where would you like to start a riot?
Where
Yeah.
do you want to start that?
I wonder if it,
I'm just pointing out that, we know where we are with municipalization. We need market or below market sourced power in terms of prices.
And we're kind of doing things for that.
And we're working towards that,
Yeah.
but we're not there today.
Mhm.
If we find if there's some miracle unicorn out there, we're able to get a commercial agreement that's less than Bonneville tier 1 power. If such a thing ever existed out there, we are gonna look for that. If we should find it, the municipalization discussion would be, we'd probably call a special meeting for it. That would happen immediately. We're looking for that all the time. We haven't seen
No,
it.
and there's other people who want that same block of power.
And typically the data centers are willing to pay $500 a megawatt hour, they don't care. And, so they're grabbing all of the non-carbon power that's coming on the market right now, whole other issue. So. I'm happy to go talk to the GMs about it and say, look, here's something that we're interested in. Don't wanna be the tail wagging the dog here, what do you guys think? And just kind of take the temperature. I'd be happy to do that for you. I think our next GM meeting is in November or December. We're trying to get 2 a year. Where it's separate, where it's just the GM's off.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's fair to put 6.3C on the year one focus.
I was just throwing it out there.
The other option, sorry to interrupt, would be 6.3A, which sort of goes in line with develop alternative energy strategies, which kind of goes along with already adding geothermal as sort of one of those things, so they kind of go together. You're sort of doing them simultaneously. Because you need the source before the municipalization. Just.
Ready? We're just talking about adding any
yeah.
more near-term actions.
yeah, we have there's a lot of things on the list.
Yeah, we got a good
I-
list, yeah.
I,
We don't need to.
caveating that. Only expect us to, move. Get so far in the first year on that
Yeah,
item, but, keeping on the list, seems. As far as investigating potentially supporting, taking little steps, yeah, that
Okay,
seems
all right,
appropriate. for the
let's
first
put that in
episode.
there.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at there is some pretty low hanging fruit on the special initiatives, so like, I think it's okay for you to add something maybe. You know, like actively monitoring, participating in water rights adjudication, well, yeah, I mean, we will do that, John will do that for us.
No, John will do it, John will.
Do you know what I mean?
Sarah will do that for us.
Yeah, or, you know, hosting commission and staff of, I mean, that's gonna be really. Really.
Yeah, and in terms of supporting
Yeah.
Cherry Point.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm gonna be doing tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that just, you don't even need to put on the list. we're just
We don't.
doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that we have on the we're not, yeah, right.
So what I'm getting at is like 6.3 is a pretty rich and robust section, like it's okay for us to add something meaty to our either one.
So I think my question is which of the sections,
And that's, yeah, that's what I'm asking,
Which of,
these knock around guys.
which of the letters, the subsections of 6.3?
So my suggestion was C.
See, yeah. Yeah, I thought we were
Okay.
on that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Okay, 6.3C.
Oh, I'm just like, and we're done, but I.
Well, Lisa's got the list.
No, actually, that is, the only other thing is just to note that we will basically move the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement will be the letter from the commissioners, so we talked about that, we'll put Chris's letter at the beginning. The acknowledgement from the commissioners at the end, and that is all I have for the strategic plan.
And then we've pinged you guys for a public meeting,
Mm.
so that we can, get
Just sent
direct.
an email yesterday.
Can I
Yeah.
jump in here for that, Chris?
Sure, Joseph.
So the email I sent around, to stay on track with completing, the strategic plan by the end of the year, according to you, sir, we've got kind of a 2-week window of, to be able to get a public, meeting together, or a special meeting for public comment. And looking at calendars, the best availability would be the week of October 6th through the 10th, but particularly either Wednesday, October 8th or Thursday, October 9th. And I was looking at those dates because they're some of the furthest out we can do, which will give time for advertising, putting this on the website, et cetera, and then any word of mouth commissioners, et cetera, may want to do for getting the public who are interested to be at that meeting. So I know afternoons are better, and the afternoons on either the 8th or Wednesday the 8th or Thursday the 9th are wide open, and I would think we do like a 1 to 3 couple hour meeting for any input, and then go from there. What are your availabilities for those 2 dates?
What day is the telecom workshop, Andrew, do you remember?
No, I don't, I think it's first part of October,
Yeah, I thought it was that week, I thought it was October 6th.
I think so.
That would be the Monday. You guys are obsessed with days of the week like I am. I'm probably gonna be fine with either of the, like Wednesday, 8th or not, but I would suggest if we want public comment that we do it later in the day. Lots of people work. I think if we invite public comment, we should do it when the public is available to comment.
So do you want to run like a 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
I mean, that's fine with me.
There's sense to that kind of thing.
The kid would have to feed himself, but.
Yeah, I think it's a good point in evening, and obviously we want to try to go where people are. Let's just say, okay, first thing. What is it we're trying to accomplish with this public comment? I'd like to pin that down.
So this was literally at the commission's request.
I know, but we didn't talk about exactly. Let's talk about what we, where we all stand on what we expect a public comment to accomplish. What do we want to get out of this? Yes, we of course all wanted to have public input in the process, but what do we want to accomplish?
I mean,
in this meeting in
Yeah,
October?
I'm looking forward to hearing if people. If what we've put together sort of reflects the desire of our community, right? That's the. I'm not looking for validation through public comment, looking for questions and concerns through public comment. That would be the point. Also, you know, I think people appreciate having that transparency before something is passed so that they don't, you know, people don't feel like we're sneaking something by them, creating plans. Yeah, that's.
You know, one thing we could also do, I'm not saying in place of, I'm saying in addition to, we could put this draft out when it's, you know, cleaned up on the website. And have some kind of a reply function, or, they, you know, if somebody wanted to, they could email one of us or hand a printed copy of their comments, and, you know, we could solicit that way, because there's people who, of course, our website's not widely visited, but you get some who look at it and potentially would answer that way as well.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that would come back to us, like during an open session, you would submit those comments, or,
We could do that.
okay,
Yeah,
Probably read them into the record.
yeah.
I like that idea, and it's not something we typically do, to set up a structured public comment portal online, but that. I think we could get more out of that than like a special evening public hearing. Where, I mean, people are like, for the most part, no one's. There are some folks, but like, there's general public for the most part is not checking and following what's on our agenda. And so people are gonna participate if they get an invitation to, if there's some form of outreach, then, hey, we want your input, right? We can put out general public notice about it. But yeah, if we were gonna, so either way, yeah, I like the idea of at least having, inviting that to public, you know.
The other option is that we don't typically do this with meetings, but we could actually pay for an ad for the, you know, that you're having a, you know, special hearing.
Where would you put it though?
I don't know, I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, it's really hard to reach people now because, like, for instance, I don't take the paper anymore
Yeah,
at all.
some people read it online,
Some do, yeah.
yeah, I don't know, I'd have to ponder that.
Yeah, so,
But
So-
typically, we put it on the website, we don't really do a lot of
Right, no.
outreach, you know, we don't push it out a lot, but I'm sure that we could come up with some ways.
Maybe
I
like Cascadia Daily or something.
Maybe, but I wanna point something out that, like, there's an assumption here, and you sort of brought it up a little bit. Oh, you know, the public isn't really following along, and, you know, we've talked about having very few public commenters, and I've talked to other commissioners, you know, at Wakuda. And they have very active people involved in their
cause they
decision
for like
making.
retail.
Well, not just that, not just the
Not
retail,
just retail.
they do it at different times of the day. We hold our meetings, we're one of the few groups that decide that 8:15 on a Tuesday morning would be the best time to have a, you know, public meeting. Todd's over there laughing because he knows it's true. People aren't available, most of us have jobs, and we don't.
Jobs.
Yes, and so they're not here to, so it's counterintuitive to complain about not having public comment when you have 8:15 Tuesday morning meetings. And that's that.
Yeah, 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 I guess in all of this though. Like, I don't know, I just often observed the case in where there's, you know, mandated public participation opportunities where it's there in a perfunctory sense, you know, the window open, the window closes, and then but it's not like functionally effectively accessible or engaging, or where, say, even if a public comment does come in, it's like noted for the record. So if there's I guess, yeah, for, you know, we have a few people listening, right? And then we're always remember that there are more folks who are just watching the YouTube live stream than actually appear in the Zoom. or might watch it on recording. So, yeah, folks know that we would welcome your feedback. And, so making sure that if they write, they can write somewhere where all of us are gonna receive that. And do you think, do you think do you think though, just because we host a meeting in the evening, we're gonna get more folks turning out?
I think if we as commissioners invite people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we would get a
Right.
better turnout. If we held it at a time when people could come, if we were excited about the work that we've done, if we're doing our jobs and reaching out to our public, I think that the public would be more interested.
So,
I mean, I don't know. This is the first time I've.
So let me-
Nothing drives engagement like a retail relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I can tell you from working 5 different utilities. The last place I worked, we held all of our commission meetings at night. And always, and we rarely got anybody show up at those. And where we got a lot of feedback was, we had an Instagram account that we had linked to the bill pay. And we got a lot of feedback on that, and we had a Facebook page, and, but we had 12,000 electric customers. And we had the whole city of Henderson, and, so we had that retail, relationship, and people would reach out to us on that basis, and I think that's what a lot of the utilities are seeing. We just don't. I mean, you ask somebody in Linden about walking PUD, and they go, "Who's that?" And, it's not, they just don't have a really retail relationship with us.
Right.
They just don't. So we can hold these things anytime you want, we can open up all kinds of channels. I just wouldn't expect the same kind of results you've got in a PUD that has, 100% retail relationships with all of their citizens. It's just different.
so,
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that either.
so, yeah, getting back to the question, what are we trying to accomplish? It's just,
Yeah.
for me, this whole strategic planning effort's been a beneficial process, almost without exception. There have been some exceptions, which could have gone better, but wouldn't be that way. So it's, definitely been a good process, and one of the good, outcomes of the process is team cohesion.
Mm.
That I've felt, through the whole process. I think it's been a very beneficial thing. And now we're at this point where we have a pretty representative document about where we want to go as an organization. And, the one way of looking at it is, oh, wait, how come we didn't have Joe Public? And I mean, Joe Public on all their manifestations, present in every, item, right? But I think it was maybe this is the beginning of a process rather than the end of a process. Yes, strategic plan is quote unquote done, but even that's a draft. Everything that, because we will revise it again and we'll tweak it again next year, especially the near-term actions. So maybe it's time to see, maybe the way we should look at this strategic plan is a scaffolding that structures us and what we're trying to accomplish as an organization. And invites in public comment in a methodical and systemic way. And so I look at our strategic plan document. What does it say about public comment? It's in 4.14, section 4. And we talk about developing an engagement strategy. We talk about our participation in the community. We talk about co-branding opportunities. We talk about open house events at least annually. So, ways to engage with community members. So some of these are also listed as our near-term actions. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's now a section. Perhaps for the first time we've had as in our strategic plan, dedicated to engaging the public and working with the public. And perhaps we've got some work to do. And kind of educating the public on our strategic plan. And how they can become familiar and intimate with our organization by way of understanding what we're saying in the strategic plan. And maybe we shouldn't put too much, yeah, I think we should have an event for sure. Okay, because like, we are a public agency, there should be some formality as far as, but what really matters to me is not the formality. I'm not saying we shouldn't follow the rules or, you know, of adopting documents and things like that, but what really matters to me is now beginning a process where our PD is doing a better and better job of soliciting public input. And, you know, the tool that Chris, you suggested, the things that we're gonna be doing this next year, we'll begin the process. I also don't wanna be too hard on us. Right, like, we're gonna solve this all in one meeting, getting the public's intimate, and we're not going to. We're do our level best to get a group of people to show up, but we're not gonna be a public. Highly public input, it's not gonna happen all at once, so. That's my thoughts.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap up my thoughts. So, you know, we talk, there's this idea that people aren't going to maybe wanna comment, right? Like, oh, we're not gonna get many people from the public. But I think that we should send special invitations to the port because they're mentioned in
A
the
lot.
document. The tribes,
The county.
because it
Right.
impacts them, the county. Maybe the broadband advisory group, maybe
This is great.
Wakuda wants to
Let's do
weigh
it.
in, maybe Wyra One wants to weigh in.
Wakuda-
BP, water associations, legislators. I mean, we should be sending out invitations to people that this impacts. Because we do have customers and we do, you know, we do. And we do have relationships and this ties into multiple, you know, other entities.
I love that idea.
So I think that I think that we have not welcomed in the same way others do responses to our,
Let's invite our neighbor Skagit PD to come to our.
oh yeah, why not? I mean,
Right, no, really.
I love Skagit.
It's just a process check here for a minute. Could I, suggest that, Commissioner Arnett work with our communications director to do just that? And set up an evening meeting, push out these invitations. I would suggest attaching the draft as a PDF to the invitations. So that people have it that they can review and then come prepared and we'll just see who shows up.
Cool.
And let's make sure we have food for the event too.
I'm not going if I don't have food.
So what I'm asking is for the three commissioners to deputize Commissioner Arnett to work
Are you
on
cool with
this.
it?
Okay, do we want to choose now, one of those evenings, the 8th or 9th? Or if we're talking about evenings, is there a better evening that people wanna look at?
Let me go grab my calendar.
We got it, we found out about telecom workshop, I'll look at it. I'll log in here real quick. Log in.
Try to find calendar dates. No, you're good. After this.
And to your point earlier, Commissioner Arnett, if we want to consider doing commission meetings at night, I believe that has to be ratified in resolution, which can be done. Would that be something we'd want to consider passing in the next couple months or discussing further?
It's the telecom workshop is October 8th, by the way,
Okay, so the 9th works for me.
9th.
Oh, no, I can't do the 9th, not in the evening,
Okay,
eventually daytime. But the, you know, 6th, 7th, 8th, we're fine.
But you can't do that either.
well, I could just plan on yeah, I could be there, yeah.
What about the evening of the 6th then, Monday the 6th?
Be a church board meeting.
Are there any,
You know what, but if that was works for everybody else.
What's
the
the
later in October doesn't work, by
Was
the
the
way?
7th out?
Well, the issue is we're trying to get this done relatively quickly so that we can complete it this year. So after we get through the public hearing and any adjustments made by virtue of that, we need to get it back to MFA so that they can go ahead and put it in the final format and go through all that and publish by the end of this year. So we're
So
trying
how
to.
about the evening of Tuesday, October 7th? I don't know how far you have to travel for the thing on the.
No.
8th.
No, it's
Okay.
fine.
So Tuesday, October 7th?
Ready?
And this would be solely, like, we open the meeting, we take public comment, we discuss public comment and. close, so
Essentially, it'd be a
that's-
workshop.
A workshop, okay, not technically, we don't really have public hearing on this, right? But
Right.
It's
No, it's
yeah,
public
it's
comment.
public
Yeah.
comment, yeah. Um,
And there's no resolution.
I like workshop, informal
If
format.
you're gonna be taking public comment, I would call it a public hearing. It's not a requirement under the law, but I think that's what people understand. If you call it a workshop, it sounds like you're going around like a charrette environment, or
Yeah.
you're meeting with people individually. If it's a hearing and you're taking public comment, call it a public hearing.
And we'll do
So-
it here?
For the hearing though, we can't discuss the comment,
You can say discussion, yeah, after the public hearing, you can put on your special meeting, discussion of comments. If you wanna have action, you need to put on the meeting agenda, possible action. Strategic plan.
mhm.
Well, I can't imagine we would do it in that meeting.
No,
We would do it
neither.
I
afterwards.
mean, you can, I'm just saying, if you wanted to have it, the possibility of action, you would put it on the agenda.
I wouldn't,
Have
I
it
don't
on the
like
agenda,
hearing,
you're
how
not-
about public input session for the Welcome County PUD strategic?
I would say, I would say public hearing, because that's the nomenclature people are used to.
Can we put it in parentheses, public hearing?
What is the,
Huh?
what is the objection?
I think it's a formality.
Yeah, whatever, it's okay.
Is,
I just, a public input session sounds less formal.
Hmm.
Like people eyes glaze over when they hear the word.
Are we
hearing.
gonna have to wear a tie?
My eyes glaze over when I hear the word hearing. And I don't wanna have parliamentary procedure when we're just talking about strategic, I want it to be an
Well-
open meeting.
Commissioners, if I may, I can write the
Yes, it's like
notice
town
in
hall.
such a way that it lays out the procedure, which, yeah, it would say public hearing in the heading, but you'd basically say,
Presentation.
you'd say public hearing, and then you'd make bullet points like number one, all public comment will be heard. Part two would be discussion of comments, and then part three would be action or no. And then that lays out step for step how we're gonna operate that meeting.
I want more of a town hall, I don't really wanna be deliberating in that meeting, I wanna be just listening.
I think
and-
listening
And
is
having
important.
conversations like we did at the town hall.
I'm apprehensive about having conversations. I would love to listen.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously the focus is listening,
Yeah.
but people have questions for us and I'm like, I just can't, let us just be standing up and talking about the strategic
So
plan.
that's a clarity. Are you asking a format where someone comes up and says 35, 10 minutes comments? Or are you asking for a town hall where people walk around and you're walking around and people stop and talk to you? Those are two different type of
Very
environments.
different.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, like in.
I want
open house,
informality,
versus-
personally, I want more
The
informality.
downside of the informality of the town hall open house is that Commissioner Arnett doesn't hear what's being told to
Yeah,
Commissioner Fury.
yeah,
And so you can have informality by sitting there saying, listen, we want it to be informal. We're gonna have people talk, tell us things, but we all wanna hear it. So let's just have a conversation.
Okay,
It's all about how you as a
Grab
chair.
a slice of cake and sit down and tell us one thing.
okay.
Yeah, sit down at the table,
Yeah.
Yeah. so
not
I think-
at a podium making a speech.
And
just
I
sit down.
appreciate Joseph's suggestion, but I think as I create an invitation, I can do that in a way that expresses what you're looking for. We can still call it a public hearing so that people
Okay,
associate.
And Joe just needs to
what
get
it
the
is.
public notice out 48 hours in advance. So
Yeah, so we can take care of it.
yeah, I mean, like, okay, these are knobs we're turning
Yeah.
and we don't know what the outcome's gonna be, frankly.
So I follow Chris's suggestion that you have Commissioner Arnett for Lisa and they have your general concept.
Yeah.
Okay,
Super.
this will be in 2 weeks and it's,
we gotta get this out quick.
right, but, okay, so is the understanding that MFA by like October 1st is sending us the formatted graphic design
No,
version, or this
no.
is just gonna be the,
The suggestion would be to take this document and adopt everything that's on it, because you guys are happy with it. This becomes our draft.
Accept changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
this becomes our draft, and, that it's not done. We haven't finished it, we haven't given it to MFA to do anything with, because we're still waiting for public input.
okay, I thought, sorry, I was thinking we would have like the, you know, like this,
The
like
earlier
a
version.
presentable public draft pending adoption where, you know, potentially they'll like.
Well,
tweaks can be
the
made to it.
question is,
like-
the more refined it is, the harder it is to change it. right?
Yeah,
The
I
more
mean,
refined it is, the more it looks like you don't really mean that you need their input, because you're almost done.
true, I guess I just thought we were running into the problem of, you know, MFA's contract ending, and they wanted to be done by, you know, a week from now,
I
right?
think that was the timing MFA needed to finalize it, pretty it up, put it in Photoshop or whatever they need to do. That, and want to complete that by mid-October.
And remember, when we started this with MFA, the idea was that we would have a completed, polished version in time for budget input.
Yeah.
And then as we discussed, it was more, well, hold on a second, if we get the meat of it and the action items for next year and all that, we can use that for input for the budget. We just need to have the thing polished and ready to go by the end of the year.
Okay,
So this gives me what I need for a budget,
okay,
you know, and assuming no radical changes, but.
But Lisa will clean this up.
Yeah.
Before
Oh,
it
yeah.
goes to, like, there won't be all of the, you
Yeah.
know, formatting.
It'll
things in
be-
here. Yeah,
No, they draft document.
a draft
Like, here's-
document, yeah,
Yeah.
not
And
without
hidden font, okay?
without the comments and red lines,
Oh, yeah, no, take all this.
no, that.
is it also? Can we also do should we rearrange it so that the tactics appear under the strategies?
Potentially, I'll
Or
talk to Hillary
it's,
about that, yeah.
This is the first time you've said anything about that.
It's just,
It's hard. to
it,
follow.
I know it'll take a little bit of time to do that, but like, I will do it if it's just like, it just,
Yeah.
like,
I
it-
fully agree with you.
it's gonna be, it's gonna be a pain for the public to review it in that form. It's and to understand what,
Yes,
it's-
we can make sure that that happens in this draft.
okay, so MFA is okay with waiting to do their final. The final work on this
Yeah, they just
until
don't
we're
want to do
done.
it twice, yeah.
Yeah, they just don't have to go back and do it, yeah, okay. Is that enough, in that case, like, is. Holding this 2 weeks from now, like, is that? Like, is that a good time frame?
I wish it was a little bit more time.
Like, do we not wanna, what if we just did it on the 14th at our next regular meeting day? And,
In the evening or?
I'm gonna just interject. I think that if you really want to look at the strategic plan and the conversations about having a strategy, and getting more engagement, I think that you're looking at a situation where if we keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So if you don't try something different, like meeting people at a time that works for them and start making that opportunity,
mm,
I think you have a lot of lip service about a new plan, but we're not doing it different. So I honestly think if you're gonna have public engagement and you want to seek that, we have to meet that at a time when people can actually engage. So I
Yeah.
personally think if you do it during a regular meeting, you're not really doing anything new.
good point, Lisa, good point. Yeah, I'm fine with doing it any time of day, I'll note that, often, you know, meetings that are, you know, they're scheduled at. What's dinner time for most people,
Mm.
and it's under the guise of like, well, this is a time that people could make it after work if they're on a 9 to 5 schedule. And a lot of people are not on that kind of schedule, and it's not actually a more convenient time for them, like, whereas they might have made it. If it wasn't, you know, like the middle of the day or something, or, you know, different, you can't get a time that's gonna be most convenient,
That's
so
true.
I have to, and you know, I want someone to be able to still provide input even if they can't. Make that on the 7th, so like I said, if we
The
could,
invite can say that it's on the website, if you wanna submit something in writing,
Yeah.
and pull it up and provide that opportunity.
Is it a hard thing for us to be able to implement that online portal?
You're really hard with our current website, almost impossible, but,
I can make it work.
okay.
I will make it work.
We are moving to a new website that enables that kind of thing. We're
Yeah,
just not there yet.
yeah,
And also just noting that maybe a lot of the feedback we want is from, like, people that would be doing this as part of their job, working for, you know, like the port or the county or, one of our business customers or stakeholders, right? It's like where, yeah, I don't know, we could, I think the important thing is that it's not conflicting with other standing meetings, and I think, so I do think Tuesday the 7th is probably fine because, as far as I know for most of those, but
That's the first Tuesday.
the first Tuesday, yeah, because their
That's
meetings
not
are,
a county council meeting.
Exactly.
yeah, their Port and County Council are also on the second Tuesday cycle, so, and then I think,
and we
yeah,
don't, we don't have a commission.
My only question would be, Joseph, can this be virtual? Like I
Yes.
can.
That,
Yes, it can.
I mean, yeah, we can do that. I just have, just as long as we have someone from IT here to start and stop the meeting, or if I'm granted permissions to operate the Zoom, I mean, however, whoever we have that can have permissions to operate a Zoom, we can make it virtual.
It can be done.
Yes, it
Yeah.
can be done.
Yes.
People that I want to mention, Ag Water Board. We should invite, what's his, Dan ISIS type people.
We'll put together a pretty comprehensive list
Yeah.
of people we have associations with that might be interested in commenting.
And just recognize that, you know, the more wide open you have this, the more likely you're gonna get a troll or two.
Mhm.
yeah, can we make some intention to be prepared for that kind of thing?
Oh, I'm prepared. I know
Yeah,
who's
I
gonna
mean-
do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't completely prevent it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we just have to be prepared to shut it down. You can't really make it impossible and also make it available to
You
everyone.
just suspend the meeting.
I know, yeah, I just would like us to, I think when, you know, we got Zoom bombed before, it seemed like we were,
In shop.
yeah, or,
Mike intervened in like less than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was damn good. That
Yeah.
wasn't a, you know,
It was.
I was really delighted.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
yes.
We were shocked. but
It
Mike
felt
took
longer,
action.
right? It felt longer and.
Oh, and by the way, so in an
As far
evening
as-
meeting, well, I guess we will have to keep staff in the evening to support that process, right? So obviously,
Just one from IT and Joseph and then the
Okay.
rest of us.
okay,
Yeah, I
We
think
can
really,
adjust
it would just be me and Lisa in terms of.
Okay.
In terms of staff, we don't need AGM, we don't need broadband.
okay, so are we done with strategic
And
plan?
Kate, yes.
One thing would be setting time for that meeting.
I think,
Yeah, I'll get with you, Joseph.
Okay, perfect, cool.
You delegated that to the GM and Arnett to set the time.
all right, moving on, so we have an executive session.
First meeting, public comment.
Oh, right,
Hi, Todd Legacy, here's a private citizen. I appreciated the debate you guys had on the public hearing versus a town hall. I think one of the benefits of actually having it as a public hearing is you get to limit the subject matter. It has to be specific to that. And so you can require that related to that, so you can limit some of the trolling. One thing I would point out is that if you want more public comment and involvement, having better signs at the street corners that are not sun faded might be a great starting point.
We'll be using those sandwich boards like we did at the open house. So they're bright, they're new, they're right there.
But just in an ongoing, you know, here's our PUD, we're proud of our PUD,
Mhm.
kind of thing. One thing I do appreciate that you guys are looking at is the timing of input. Typically in public hearings, like it was discussed, it's almost at the end and it's a completed version. And so what is the point of the public hearing other than to say, we gave you the chance to say something, but we're not going to actually hear it. So thanks for that. And then lastly, having driven fire engines for a long time and I would encourage you guys to consider something like a no idle policy that might actually, allow your, trucks to last longer. Because 50,000 miles is a very short amount of time. We kept our fire engines for at least 15 years and they had, 100,000+ miles on them. And those were emergency response vehicles. So from a fiscal, responsible place, that might be something we need to look at doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure, great.
Anybody online? The public comment?
Now, it looks like we lost everybody.
Okay. Yeah, that concludes public comment, and we'll have an executive session. We expect no action.
No action expected to be 15 minutes, and I suggest we start at 10:20 and we'll end at 10:35.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We just completed executive session, and we discussed the water litigation matter and, the property litigation matter, sorry. There was no action taken, and, if there's anything else, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to close. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
And now we have a photo.